Alright everyone, welcome to another MMFQ tutorial. Today I am going to be showing you how to install the Windows 8 Developer Preview. So first, I'm going to send you to this link in the description below. So as you can see here, Windows 8 Developer Preview with Developer Tools. Now you can install this one. It's no different really, it just has Developer Tools obviously. So if you don't want that and you don't need it, then don't worry about it. So here is the one that I am going to be installing, which is the Windows 8 Developer Preview English 64-bit. Now the 32-bit will be exactly the same. Obviously the size is a little bit smaller, but other than that, they're identical. I think you can actually allocate more RAM to the 64-bit if I'm... Yeah, you can. If it's the same as any other Windows operating system. So now we're going to open up this, and I'm going to actually delete this because I'm going to show you how to make it from scratch. Sorry about that. There it is. So now you're going to go and create a new virtual machine. Now here's a little thing. As you see, I'm on VMware Workstation 8. This will work the same for Workstation 7 and VMware Player. VirtualBox is a little different, and I can make another tutorial for that later, but you'll have to request that because I don't actually have VirtualBox. Once I found Workstation 7, it's kind of been all VMware Workstation for me. If you have VirtualBox, then that's the only one you can run. I will make a tutorial for you. Just request it. But honestly, if I were you, just go get a cracked version off uTorrent or something. It's way better. But anyway, typical. Next, I will install the operating system later. That is a definite. Hit next. Now, here's the tricky part. If you're like me and you're on VMware Workstation 8, it has an option for the version of Windows to be Windows 8 or Windows 8 64. You don't want that because you won't have VMware tools. So you want Windows 7 if you have the 32-bit, or Windows 7 x64 if you have the 64-bit. Hit next. I'm going to name it Windows 8 x64. Next. Store as a single file. Now, it recommends 60 gigabytes because it's for Windows 7, but for the Windows 8 Developer Preview, you can have a minimum of 20 gigabytes. I'm just going to leave it as normal. Customize hardware. Now, a lot of people say you need 2 gigs. Not true. I've made a perfectly fine one right here, and as you can see, memory, 1 gigabyte. Processors. Now, if you have a single core processor, it is fine to leave the number of cores per processor as 1. But if you're like me and you have an i3, a i5, an i7, or an Intel Core 2 Duo, or any of the multiple AMD or any other brand processors that have multiple cores, I would definitely recommend setting it to 2. Now, this doesn't really need to be done, but I prefer my network connection for the virtual machine to be bridged and to replicate a physical network connection state. So now, one last thing before we exit this, go to New CD, DVD, use ISO image, and browse to your Windows Developer Preview.iso. Hit open, hit close, and finish. So now that VMware has created a new virtual machine, we're going to power this machine on. And I apologize for the coughing, but I do have a slight cold right now. No big deal though, I'll try to keep that to a minimum, if at all possible. Alright, now as you can see, the Windows 8 Developer Preview's new loading screen with its little flash animation that it has versus Windows 7. I actually like the Developer Preview better. In my personal opinion, I like the blankness of it, if that makes any sense. I like its basicness. Now, obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory. Language, time and currency, and keyboard or input method. So, let's just showcase this a little bit. Here's the different versions of keyboards. And obviously, I don't think I need to show you that or this. Select your language and click Next. Hit Install Now. Alright. Now, install Windows. If you are one of the people that reads this, by all means go ahead, but I'm not going to, so I accept the license terms. Next. And don't hit upgrade. I've heard that you can do it, but it also messes up a lot. I've had some problems with it, so I would just go with custom advanced. Now, if you were on a real computer and actually doing something, you would probably go in here and hit format. But since we're not, next. And I'm going to pause the video right here. And I will be back when the installation has finished. Alright, you guys, and welcome back. Well, for you, you didn't go anywhere, but for me, I did. I was sitting here, it only took about 30 minutes or so, I believe, from the last video, which actually was pretty quick. Usually the installation takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. Alright, so now you can just enter in whatever you want. It's just what I always name mine. Hit Next. I just use Express settings. And now here is the cool part. You can log on using your Windows Live ID. So, next. And now doing this will bring all of your settings from any previous Windows 8 operating system over to this operating system. Now, I haven't actually tested to see if that actually works yet. So, I guess we'll be finding that out together. But that's what it's supposed to be for. And I'm going to have to blur that out. And now we're just going to load up the operating system. And next, I'm going to show you guys how to install VMware tools so that your mouse movement isn't all super laggy and you can make it full screen, use audio, and such different things like that. Also, I'm going to show you, I think it's only one extra, damn fan, only one extra thing, that I forgot in Windows 8 tour video that I made, and that is the new Windows 8 Task Manager, which is a really cool addition if you haven't seen anything from Windows 8 yet. The Task Manager is much improved, and in case you haven't really used it on Windows 7, It pretty much hasn't changed from Windows 7 to XP or Windows 98 or before. It's pretty much always been the same. All you have is your applications, your processes, services, performance, networking, users, and just so you see here, this is why my computer is running kind of slow. I actually don't know why the memory gauge is that high, because I have 4 gigs of RAM, but my CPU is actually running pretty hard, and so is my memory. Usually my Intel Core i3 is only running at about 5 or under percent CPU usage, so getting up to 40 is pretty high. So we're just going to close out of that. Again, I apologize for the coughing, but I guess now we just kind of have to wait for Windows 8 to load up. And by the way, its speeds aren't going to be very fast, but I mean, what Key really asked for, it is a development preview. It's not the full operating system. I would suspect that it'll be much, much faster when it's all said and done. Alright, and here's Windows 8. So, here's what you're going to want to do. Go over to VM and install VMware tools. Now you can see how my mouse movement is laggy compared to out here, where nice and fluent. Just click on that and run setup64.exe. Or if you're on the 32-bit Windows or just normal Windows 7, it'll probably say run setup.exe. Now, this installation takes a couple of minutes here, so I'm going to... Oh, alright, that one was quick. Okay, in a couple of my different test runs, it usually took about 5 to 10 minutes, so maybe the more you do this, the faster it speeds up. Alright, so just hit next, typical installation, next again, and install. Now this, I know, does take a little while, so I will pause the video and I'll be back once it finishes. Alright, well, we are almost finished here. Now we're just removing backup files. Now, actually, the installation didn't take as long as I had predicted. It actually only took about 5 or so minutes, maybe a little bit less. But that's unneeded time we didn't need in this video. And usually, actually, I think this video would probably be a two-parter if it wasn't for the fact of the YouTube gods shining down on my account and finally letting me post videos longer than 15 minutes. So, way you can check that, by the way, go to upload and click on it. If you have a little notification saying that you've been approved for videos longer than 15 minutes, you are allowed. Just hit finish, and you must restart your system for the changes to take effect. Hit yes. Now, the initial restarting and booting does take longer than normal, but that's because you're using the VMware tools for Windows 7, so that is one reason, and two, because you're running a development preview operating system. Now, for those of you who don't understand the basics of developer previews, Windows has been releasing them since Windows XP. Vista was the biggest one because it was the biggest change from XP. Also, if you're still using Vista, I definitely recommend going and buying just Windows 7 Basic, because honestly that operating system is trash and is nothing but a magnet for viruses and anything else like that, because it is fat and takes up way too much space and runs any computer way too slow. But that's besides the point. That's just from a technological standpoint. If you like it, by all means use it, but I would definitely recommend upgrading to Windows 7, and when this comes out, I wouldn't doubt that even if you don't like the style of it, I would definitely recommend updating to it, because honestly, I would believe it would even run better than Windows 7 does. But again, that's just my opinion. And for those of you who are familiar with Windows phones or Windows tablets, you can already see the similarity between Windows 8 and that. And that is mainly because they took the start menu idea from their tablets. Make everything one sleek design that matches between their tablets, smartphones, and their computers now. Also, the Xbox should be getting an update. It's not said when it's going to be, but it should also be getting the same basic design for the Kinect dashboard. Let's go ahead and make this full screen now. And this is the lock screen as I showed in the tour. And now you can see my pictures come up. Sorry for the long wait time, but that's Windows 8 Developer Preview for you. Now, once we actually boot into the operating system, the full changes of VMware tools should take effect. And there they are. I really do apologize for that. Don't know what's going on here with the start menu lag, but I would guess it's just the operating system taking its sweet old time. Okay. There is my fan again. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with virtual machines, first and foremost, it will make your computer very, very laggy, especially if you don't have a lot of RAM to allocate. or a lot of RAM remaining on your system, because your system usually takes about 4 gigs of RAM, and I'm allocating 1 gig of that to the virtual machine. So unless you have 6 gigs or more, it's not recommended to allocate 4 or 2 gigs. Unless you have a very, very, very fit computer. But I'm also running DDR3 RAM, and I'm still using about 3 gigs or 2 gigs with the virtual machine. Whereas with Windows Vista, that would be about 3 gigs, and I don't really know what happened here, but it seems that the operating system froze or something. Let's just go ahead and send a Control-Alt-Delete. Forget where that's at. This will be a perfect time to show you the new task manager. As you can see, it's a little different. Go to more details, and it will tell you everything that is going on. Everything. So let's go ahead and try to do this. Let's restart Explorer.exe. And there we go. Now the start menu is back up. It also has a more detailed performance chart, your app history, startup, users, details, services. Let's just go back to that. And now let's finally get to our desktop. So, alright, it looks like the full service of everything being customized and staying the same between operating systems is not fully functional yet, but other than that, at least your picture stays the same. One thing about the start menu, you can drag and drop stuff wherever you'd like. It's not perfect. I mean, there are still its faults, but I would say it's pretty decent. I mean, it's not the best thing I've ever seen in my life, but hey, what can you really ask for? So, let's just see that everything works. As you can see, my sound is on. My network connection works. And it's full screen size. Hey, look at that. That worked too. By the way, everything now in Windows 8 will basically be controlled by your Windows button. So the Windows button is the easiest way, as always, to open up the start menu. Sorry about the fan. But now to search files, Windows key F automatically brings up search files. For settings, I believe it's Control... No, why would I think it's Windows R? Sorry. It's Windows key... Oh, well, looks like Windows key E opens up your computer. That's handy to know. Oh yeah, that's it. Windows key C opens up that menu. So that's always handy. Because I guess that I read some more into this. This is your quick start menu. So this is basically the equivalent of what we have in Windows 7 for our start menu. But other than that, everything else is pretty much in the Windows 7 store. So I'm going to leave it off here with Windows 8 Developer Preview. Booted. VMware tools installed, and the links will be in the description. So like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.